Hello and welcome to the Beat Cancer Answer, brought to you by BeatCancer.Org, the Center for Advancement in Cancer Education. We believe that 90% of all cancers could be eliminated through environmental and lifestyle choices alone, and science agrees. Unfortunately, most people don't know it, so we provide the education that can help you prevent, cope with, and beat cancer through diet, lifestyle, and other immune-boosting approaches. On every podcast, we will feature an expert who can teach us how to become part of that 90% who could prevent getting diagnosed with cancer. If you already have cancer, we have empowering information for you too. Over the past 35 years, we have helped thousands of cancer patients get back into the driver's seat when it comes to their personal journey of healing cancer and preventing future reoccurrence. Listen now as BeatCancer.Org Educational Director Dr. Susan Silberstein interviews Jackie Roberge on the concepts of CancerShift and cancer as messenger.
This is Susan Silberstein, and I'm so happy to be speaking with Jackie Roberge today. Jackie is a certified holistic cancer coach through BeatCancer.Org and also the creator of her own CancerShift coaching program. She is also a certified life purpose coach and a certified yoga instructor. For over 22 years, Jackie has been practicing and teaching yoga and transcendental meditation, and has also pursued studies in Ayurvedic medicine, creative meditation and visualization, Reiki, spiritual psychotherapy, and psycho-oncology, among other fields. Jackie specializes in and is passionate about working with cancer patients. She has created and has led an 8-week yoga program for breast cancer patients at a Montreal hospital, and has been leading small group workshops and teaching courses at the West Island Cancer Wellness Center in Montreal for the past 6 years. During that time, she has positively touched the lives of hundreds of cancer patients. Jackie has developed over 10 different guided meditations and visualizations, many specifically for those with cancer. Welcome, Jackie.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction.
Well, I'm just so happy to be speaking with you. Let's talk a little bit about how you got into coaching cancer patients and why you're so passionate about that.
Okay, I think the only way I can describe it, Susan, is that I feel called to work with cancer patients. And I'll just tell you quickly about two situations specifically. The first was several years ago, probably about 10 years ago, I was teaching a workshop, a meditation workshop at a weekend retreat. And at the end of the workshop, I had a woman who I just met that weekend come up to me and say, Jackie, I want to hire you as my meditation therapist. And I was a little caught off guard, but she was somebody, a young person, probably 30 years old, with cancer, and she had found the meditation so helpful and wanted to be guided and coached in terms of yoga and meditation. So I ended up, that was my first step into coaching cancer patients, and ended up spending about 2 years working with her before she moved to Denmark.
Lovely.
So that was my first calling. And the second was after I became a certified yoga teacher, I was looking for yoga teaching jobs, and it happened that somebody at the studio I was trained at was doing her doctoral thesis on the impact of yoga and meditation during breast cancer treatment. And she asked me to help her develop the 8-week course and then teach it. So I subsequently did that, and for about 2 years taught these small groups for 8 weeks. And I think that's where, again, I really saw the impact that meditation and the principles of yoga every week. It wasn't just yoga postures, but there were different themes that we went through, like present moment living, dealing with stress, non-judgment, acceptance. And I just saw the transformation that it helped these women go through. And that's what really made me passionate about saying, this is what I want to do. I want to share this information with more people and help more people have these big aha moments and shifts. And I'll just give you one example. There was a young woman in one of my classes, and she had 3 young children at home. And with her cancer, she started to worry, will I see them grow up? Will I see them graduate and get married? And the day we talked about present moment living was the day she had this great realization that she was off, in the future creating worries instead of enjoying every moment that she had with her gorgeous 3 daughters that were in her life right now.
Yes, they say worry is interest you pay on a debt that isn't even due yet.
Exactly. So those kind of aha moments just led me to say, you know what, this is what I want to do in life.
So then you went on to take a certification in life purpose coaching, correct?
Yes. And that's really interesting because I find that people that come to me for cancer coaching almost always end up working with me for their life purpose as well.
I think they're intimately combined.
Exactly. When you have a cancer diagnosis, you start questioning what is the meaning of my life? Where am I going with what I do and how I contribute? And so the two, I think, really fit well together.
Well, obviously, meditation plays an important role in your life. Can you share with us why it became so important?
Yes, it was about 22 years ago when I was working in marketing and had a stressful job. And what I found was I was just really run down. I was getting back-to-back colds. I was stressed out and just overwhelmed with everything. And when I decided to take the course, the Transcendental Meditation course, it was a $1,000 course at the time. And I have to say it's the best investment I've ever made because they taught you the technique, and then it was, without any questions, you meditate 20 minutes twice a day. And basically that's what I've been doing for the last 22 years. And so the benefits from that course, I still am reaping them every day. And what I found surprising was the first and biggest benefit was a boost in my immune system. So I no longer got sick. And to this day, I somebody that just doesn't get sick. If I get a cold, it's just a scratchy throat and then I'm better. So really on the physical level, it was immune boost and then less fatigue. And then I started to notice the more emotional benefits. So I felt more grounded, more able to deal with stresses. I can't say that there was less stress in my life, but I dealt with it better. And then as time proceeded over the years, I feel like it's given me more of a spiritual grounding, more faith that I'm guided and protected in my life and that there's a path for me and life has meaning. And so it's really powerful because it has these 3, physical, emotional, and spiritual benefits. And it's really life transforming in that way. So I became passionate because I thought this is the best kept secret. Why isn't everybody meditating? So I developed my guided meditations. I developed my Peaceful Life website, and that's really it was just through my own personal experience where I became very passionate about sharing meditation with the world.
Well, and we're delighted to help you do that. Of course, sometimes people feel that they don't know how to meditate, right? And cancer patients, especially, well, what if I do it wrong, And I know you have developed a special meditation package specifically for cancer patients, and I'm so grateful for that. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the bundle includes 7 different meditations and also an ebook that kind of helps people understand the power of visualization and also talks to setting up a regular practice. What are some of the best things to do to set yourself up for success in a regular practice? But in terms of the actual meditations, I have 2 that are dealing with the whole surgery question, sort of pre and during surgery, how to be confident and calm during your surgery. I have one that's focused on the immune system, one focused on chemotherapy and how you can visualize the positive effects and minimize the side effects of chemo through visualization. And I have to say, the one that I'm most excited about, I call Deep Healing. And it's only a 10-minute meditation, but it's really, really powerful. And I wanted to share with you, I got feedback just a couple of days ago from somebody. And this is what she said. I wanted to thank you for your amazing and powerful 10-minute meditation. It's become my favorite. I'm dealing with colon cancer and having assess treating it in a naturopathic approach. My tumor has shrunk 22%, and my previously impacted lymph nodes are totally clear. Meditation is a big part of my regime, and I'm so glad I discovered you and your meditation.
Oh, congratulations. That is a very nice endorsement indeed.
Yes. Well, I'm just so happy that it's having that kind of impact on people. So that's why one of the reasons why I'm really excited about it. And that's a meditation that kind of just came to me. I felt almost like it was channeled. And I was in the car, and I thought, gosh, I've got to get home so I can write this.
You certainly can't do a meditation while you're driving.
No, exactly. Okay, the last two meditations are one I call Sweet Dreams. So really helps people get into a deeply relaxed state to fall asleep. And the final one is just a fun one. It's 5 minutes. Call it my mini meditation, and it's great just to do anywhere. You know, in a doctor's waiting office, when you're in between running errands, whatever, just feeling a little tense or stressed. 5 minutes, it just gives you a nice relaxation, but also a little energy boost.
So and is this are these downloadable or are these CDs?
These are MP3 files, so they're like songs. So when you buy the package, you just download them and listen to them on your computer or your phone or whatever system you have. Yes, so the bundle is $19.97, but I have a special discount for anybody associated with the BeatCancer.Org site. So that coupon code is BC, so BeatCancer, BC Meditate, all in one word.
Okay, and we'll definitely have a link on our site about that. That's great. That's very important. And, Jackie, you often talk about cancer as a messenger. So can you explain what you mean by that?
Sure. It might seem kind of like a foreign concept at first, but when we think about it, I'll just use an example to put it in perspective. When we think about our body communicating, giving us a message, pain is one that's very obvious. So if we have pain, if we have a sore ankle, what do? We listen to our body. We stay off the ankle. We maybe ice it if it's swelling. We go and get an x-ray. So the fact that our body is giving us this message of pain actually helps us in terms of the steps we need to take for the healing. Makes sense?
It does.
So in the case of cancer, it's the same thing. The cancer is giving us a message that can potentially help the body heal. The big difference between a sore ankle and cancer is obviously cancer is so much more complex. So in order to decode the message, we really have to be ready to listen, to stop and reflect, to introspect, to ask ourselves some tough questions in order to kind of get at the message that the cancer may be bringing. And that's why when I work with patients, we do a lot of different exercises to try and take different angles to decode the message. And really the messages can come at a physical level in terms of, diet or fatigue. They can come on an emotional level, signaling issues with relationships or resentment, things like that, or even spiritual, having lack of joy or fulfillment in your life. So, and sometimes it's a little bit of all three. Which makes it, you need a three-pronged approach to really healing from that message.
Sure. So, yeah, clearly sometimes the message is you just have to change your lifestyle in terms of your diet, your work, your toxic exposures. But what are some of the other types of messages that cancer brings?
Well, I like to divide it into kind of two big categories. And the first is issues that you haven't dealt with, things that you may kind of have a knowing of, but you've not gone there because it's too scary or it's too daunting to make that change. And cancer really kind of gives you permission to start looking there to explore those issues and to kind of make some big changes. So
and they might be like what?
Might be like a job that's just draining your energy, but you're keeping it because it's paying the bills. And, sometimes it's not a matter of having to change jobs, but maybe it's it's talking to your boss, maybe it's changing your attitude. So that there's lots of things that can be done around a specific situation, like a job or a relationship that's been rocky with a family member, and that you have a bunch of tension and stress created on an ongoing basis.
Yep.
So those are the kind of issues that kind of come to the surface.
And, I've sometimes heard patients say, well, I have to deal with the cancer now, so I can't deal with my job or my husband. And I'm going, no, you don't get it. That's why you have to deal with these, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and then what's the other type of message that you see a lot?
The second is pointing towards either a passion or a purpose maybe that the person hasn't fully embraced. And one way to look at this is, instead of looking at what's wrong, which the medical community is great at doing, pointing out all the symptoms and everything that's the issues in the body, and then we can look at the issues in your life. So it's a lot of what's wrong. But the second part is looking at, okay, what's right in your life? What do you love to do? What gives you passion and joy and energy? And then try and amplify that. And I know you're familiar with Dr. Leshan's approach, and he was a psychologist dealing with cancer patients, and spent 35 years researching this approach, helping people say, okay, what's right and how can I bring more of that into my life? And what
I think he actually ended up 50 or 60 years in the field, right?
Yeah, sure. You're probably right. I've just quoted 35 years of research, but what he found was when people even started taking baby steps towards fulfilling a dream or a passion, that they all of a sudden started reacting better to their traditional treatments. So it was like the energy of the passion energized their whole system and their immune system, and gave them this newfound energy to move on with life, and this will to keep going. So that's really the second big area, is finding out what's right, what you're passionate about, and amplifying it in your life.
And I know there are some specific themes that fit under these categories. What are the most common in your experience?
Yeah, there's two that come out a lot, especially with women. The first one is to shift from nurturing and caring for everybody else all the time, to looking after yourself and your needs as a priority. And often people feel that that's selfish, but as you know better than anybody else, if we're not taking care of our own needs, then eventually we can't help anybody else.
Right, so and sometimes the cancer comes to remind us of that.
Exactly. And some women, even when I stop and say, okay, what are your needs? How can you ask for help?
Don't know.
They don't know. Yeah, and it really takes some time to say, okay, what do I need in my life? Where do I need help? Yeah. So that's the first kind of big category, is shifting towards self-love, self-care. And the second is just bringing more joy, more laughter, more lightness. As humans living this kind of stressful, busy life, I think we tend to get weighed down by the heaviness of it all. And so the second message that I see is just a lightening up. One woman got the message from her cancer: stop the madness. She was just so busy, hurrying, scurrying about, doing so many things that weren't important.
Yeah, human doing, not human being, huh?
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I too use that approach when I coach cancer patients, but a lot of times it takes time to get there. And initially, the typical reaction that people have after being told they've got cancer is shock and disbelief and anger, and especially fear. And of course, the oncologists are reinforcing that panic by telling patients that now that they've finally been diagnosed, they've got to get rid of the cancer yesterday. So why do you find that so particularly dangerous?
Yeah, for a couple of reasons. One is that if we stay stuck in fear and stress mode, then we're not in healing mode. So the body can't do both. It's either in, the fight or flight or the relaxation response, but not both. Mm-hmm. So if, the system and all the pressure that's being put on people to get surgery and get chemo right away, if that's creating more and more fear, that's actually working against the natural capacity of the body to heal, of the immune system to do its job. So that's the first reason that it's dangerous to stay stuck in that fear and panic mode. The second issue is what I find is when people are fearful and kind of resisting and create tension in their body, what they're doing is creating blockages. And when I help people try to listen to their intuition and hear the message from their cancer, it's really about tuning into guidance. And I like to use the example of a radio station. If you're tuning into a radio station, if you're just off a tiny bit, you can create that static. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what the tension does, and the blockages. You don't get the clear messages. It becomes confusing and full of static. Whereas if people can move through the fear to a place of greater peace and acceptance, then the messages start becoming clear. Then you can start tuning in and being curious and saying, okay, what kind of guidance am I going to get through this health situation? And I guess the final danger is that if people are only concerned about, like you say, getting rid of the cancer yesterday, then they're not taking the time to say, well, what is the message? What am I meant to learn at this point in my life? And what I find interesting is a lot of times when people are interested in taking my course or getting coached, it's because they've got a recurrent cancer. Mm-hmm. And they're saying to themselves, you know what, there's something that I need to do differently this time. Mm-hmm. And so they're more attuned and more open to saying, what is the message?
That's
and
good.
How can I change? Yeah. Mm-hmm. How can I grow and learn?
Like the cancer will keep coming until you get the message.
Exactly.
Now, one of the things you do well is help people deal with their fears about life in general and cancer in particular. So how do you do that?
The first thing is really helping people understand how fears are created, who creates them, the effect on the body. And I'm always reminding people that we're in charge of our emotions, even though it doesn't always feel that way. They feel like they're coming from we don't know where. But, when people say, oh, the doctor made me scared, this diagnosis made me fearful, it's really not the case. We are in charge of our emotions. So I help them go through a 3-step process that allows them to become more aware when a situation is triggering a strong emotion, naming it, and then saying, okay, I'm owning this. I created this, and I can either decide to continue creating, or I can decide that in the future I want to create different emotional reactions. It's
beautiful.
A really, really powerful exercise, and it takes some time to get really good at it, but it's something that really helps people acknowledge their role in the creation of their fears and any
beautiful.
kind of strong emotion.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just the second thing that I also do in terms of fears is when there is a fear already present, we don't want to repress it or deny it, but we want to get it out there and say, okay, what is the fear, and are there actions that we can take to empower ourselves and help lessen the fear by taking steps? And that's also very helpful for people to say, okay, I have this fear, but these are the things that I'm doing to help minimize that fear in my life.
Good. Good. Well, I guess, and that brings us to the whole concept of your website. You chose the name CancerShift.com. So let's talk specifically about some of the key shifts that you encourage patients to make. I guess fear is part of that, right?
Right. One of the first big shifts is letting go of the fear and moving to a place of acceptance. And acceptance really means to not judge the situation as good or bad, not to label it, because really when we're going on any journey in life, we don't know all the different pieces of the puzzle that are coming together. We only see one small piece, one little step. So if we're judging at every point, for instance, if somebody gets a treatment assigned to them, a chemo treatment, and they ended up having an allergic reaction, they could say, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible. I can't believe this is happening to me. This is going to be a disaster." It may not be the case. Maybe a second recommendation might be exactly what their body needs, and they heal very nicely with that alternate recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
So I really encourage and we practice non-judgment, withholding judgment, because we don't know. There's so many times that things can end up being a blessing. But if we shift right away to judgment, then we stay in that fear and that, oh no, what's going to happen? This is bad.
And that's really hard to do when you have an oncologist saying, oh, you have this really rare cancer and it's very aggressive and nobody recovers from it. And, it's very hard to not accept that judgment.
It's true. And that's why people need a lot of support on their journey. And I also share many, many stories of people that have gone through situations and that looked very, very bleak, yet come out at the end saying, you know what, I do feel blessed by my cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the next big shift that I help people make, is from seeing cancer as solely a life-threatening disease to potentially a life-enhancing experience. Mm-hmm. And as I talked about a little bit before, cancer gives people permission to make some changes that they would have otherwise just never even considered. And mm-hmm. sometimes those changes can be very, very life-enhancing. And one example, I had a client come to me, and she was in busy mode, very demanding of herself. She said, I'm finishing my interior designer course, and I have to. And she had just gotten this diagnosis. She said, I need to finish the course, Jackie. And as we started to work together over the weeks and look at her priorities and her energy level, and then eventually look at her life purpose, all of a sudden that didn't become important anymore. And she started realizing that she wasn't being driven and passionate about interior design. What she wanted to do was help people heal. And those are the kind of dramatic shifts that people can discover when they get cancer and when they start questioning things that normally we just don't question in life. Sometimes we just go along our path, and even though it might not be totally fulfilling and joyful path, we just somehow stay on it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the cancer, it'll push us off our path, but it'll lead us down a new and even more interesting one.
Awesome.
So, so that really is the big, from life-threatening to potentially life-enhancing, the big
beautiful shift. And you have an online course called Cancer Friend, Foe, or Messenger. I really love that title. Mm-hmm. So how do you believe this course could help people with cancer?
Well, firstly, when you make that shift from seeing cancer as life-threatening to potentially life-enhancing, it changes the whole experience. And again, it opens people up to start to explore, okay, if this could be life-enhancing, what could that look like? Mm-hmm. And so instead of staying stuck in the fear and the tension, you start opening up to exploring and being interested. And really the other thing that the course does is give people knowledge and tools and exercises so that they have a way of actively participating in their healing. And when you're actively participating, when you know that what you're doing every day is going to help and influence your outcome, the outcome of your healing, it's so empowering. And people, instead of feeling like they're getting a diagnosis and a treatment plan and they're just kind of bystanders, when you start to become an active participant, that just gives people so much more confidence. They become more inspired to really do all they can to help their healing. And when you start participating in your healing at so many different levels, diet, emotions, meditation, visualization, you can really start to feel like, okay, I'm this is going to work. I'm doing my part and I'm making a difference.
Yes, I think it's so disempowering, the message that most oncologists give patients, just show up for your tests and your treatments and we'll do it all and you don't have to do anything. It's so depressing to have to be that passive.
Yeah.
And that disempowered. So, all right, so if people were to take your online course, what's the big takeaway?
Well, I guess fundamentally is to answer that question, what am I meant to learn from my cancer experience? Where is there some sort of lack of harmony or alignment? Where do I need to make changes? And how can I start making those baby steps towards changes that will not only bring me healing, but will bring more joy and fulfillment into my life? And that really helps people be calmer, be more confident that they've kind of gotten at the root cause. And once you start working and getting rid of the root cause, then you're saying, okay, that's great. Now I'm feeling like I've made some real progress in terms of my life and my healing journey.
Yes, and very often oncologists will tell patients, well, I don't have any idea where this came from. If you don't know what caused it, how can you get rid of it? That's kind of my take on it. So if patients can figure that out for themselves, they're way ahead of the game.
And I really do encourage people to say, why did this happen to me? Not as a victim, but, why did this happen and why now? And, where can I pinpoint areas of my life where I need more focus, more attention, more love?
And also let's talk about the immune system. Do you address that in your course?
Yes, I put emphasis on that because, as you know, if you don't have a strong immune system, then it's very difficult to think about having lasting healing. So the cancer can be eliminated by outside intervention, but you need a strong, healthy immune system to keep cancer at bay. So I talk a lot about, what influences the immune system in general, and specifically about emotions, because I like to compare the immune system. It's like a reflection or a mirror of our emotional state. And if we're feeling heavy and depressed, then the immune system is likely depressed. Whereas, like Dr. Leshan discovered, when we're uplifted and passionate and energized, well, our immune system, it benefits from that. It kind of gets carried along with that wave of energy. So, yes, I cover that in my course and in my coaching.
And that, it kind of sounds like poetry, Jackie, but the truth is there is an entire research field called psychoimmunology, which has been around for about 4 decades and documents that what you're saying is absolutely true clinically.
Yeah.
So it does sound like poetry, but it's demonstrated scientifically.
Yeah,
well, the lovely thing about your course is that it is available on demand and it's self-paced. So how do you structure it, and how long would it take to get through it?
So basically it's set up as a 7-week course with about 1 to 2 hours of listening and exercises per week. And then, you can add on to that if you're doing some meditation, some journaling and whatnot. But you can go slower or faster. The material is all there. But the thing with the 7 weeks is it's designed so that in week 1, you're starting to work on being mindful of the body and its messages, for instance, responding to your body, listening to it, becoming more attuned to it. And I remind people week after week, and we pick different things to tune into. So it really helps over a 7-week period to practice those things on a weekly basis. So it's not like as of week 1, okay, I check that, I've covered that material, I can forget that.
Right.
Sorry.
It builds.
It's about creating practices that are not only good for healing, but they're going to stay with people for a lifetime. The practice of mindfulness is just a practice that is so important, and it can add so much meaning and depth to anyone's life. So it's really worth putting the time in and developing it over the 7 weeks. So yes, people can go at their own pace, but I think 6 to 8 weeks is kind of the ideal time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And each
and
week,
it's not a lot, an hour or 2 a week.
No, really it's not. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And each week I have a special interview with a subject matter expert for the theme of that week. So each week I have a theme. And the interviews are about 15 or 20 minutes. And I've had really great feedback just because these experts, basically subject matter experts, bring their own opinions and learning and examples, and it's really helpful for people. So they're a combination of cancer thrivers and also just experts in the field like yourself who participate and really add depth to the course. So that's an exciting part. And then I also have a few bonuses that mainly deal with the spiritual aspects of healing and just deepening one's spiritual practices, spiritual nature, if you will. So that's kind of a fun addition as well to the whole process.
And I think you started out with an interview of a stage 4 breast cancer survivor who was told there wasn't anything that they could do for her.
Yes, Joyce O'Brien is a woman I met probably about 4 years ago, and her story is just so incredible. I feel like I want to share it with people because it's such a story of hope and determination. So she was just diagnosed with stage 4. Doctor said, no, we can't do anything for you. And she was a Wall Street broker at the time and ended up doing any and everything she could to help herself heal, which included dramatically changing her diet and lifestyle. And she became so passionate about the changes she made to help her on her healing journey that she actually became a vital health consultant. And so she's just a great example of somebody who at the end went through a terrible, and she ended up getting some chemo treatments, but she went through a really, really rough stage, but in the end felt blessed by it all because her life and her lifestyle are so much more fulfilling now, and she's so passionate about what she does that she says she can't even imagine living her old life.
Not only that, she's what, 15 years cancer free?
Yes. Exactly.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So she kicks us off with a really a great example of that shifting from life threatening to potentially life enhancing.
And of course, you mentioned that I was invited to also be your guest for one of the weeks of your course. So if you want to tell people a little bit about what we were discussing.
Yes, that was a really powerful topic. So you were talking about some of the common traits or characteristics of people diagnosed with cancer. For instance, often people have stressful events 6 to 18 months prior to their diagnosis. They have certain ways of dealing with stresses, and those are sort of things that people need to be aware of in case they're kind of falling into one of those areas and not dealing with stress, for instance, in a productive way. And then you conversely talked about what a profile, what people look like that are cancer thrivers. What do they have in common? How did they come through and actually, heal and move on with a better life? And those are things like taking an active role, having, great support system, changing their lifestyle. And so those things that you outline really kind of give a roadmap or compass for people to say, okay, how am I doing on all those things? And, where can I kind of hone in and say, this area I feel that I need a little bit of improvement in. What are the next steps that I can say to write out and move action, move forward on to really improve those areas? So that was a very helpful interview that you gave.
Thank you, and I'm really happy to have participated in that. And I feel that no matter what treatment patients decide upon with their doctors, they need this stuff. I really think they need this stuff. So how can people learn more about the course and maybe get involved with it?
Well, there's going to be a link on your site, the BeatCancer.Org website, under Education e-courses, and people can sign up there. And again, I'm offering a $50 discount, and the coupon code for that is BeatCancer.
That's easy enough.
Yes.
And thank you for that discount for our people.
So, like
Jackie,
you say, I think it's so important that they get access to this kind of help and support.
Yeah, this is, as I often say, possibly more important than any treatments they take. So do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with people who might want to take the course or those who are listening to this interview?
I think the biggest is just if anything that we've talked about resonated with you, is to just really seize the opportunity. And I know that anytime you take a course, if there's one or two nuggets that you can get, those insights, the aha moments that you can get that can make such a big difference on your healing journey, then I really encourage you to take the steps. And sometimes we resist and say, I'll think about it. But I really encourage you to make a decision and, follow your instincts. And I know that the course can help in so many ways. And, I'm really passionate about helping people find that hidden gift and the blessing in their cancer. And I really believe that cancer can be one's greatest teacher, but only if you're willing to do the hard work, to ask those questions, to reflect, to look at your priorities and say, where, am I really living in alignment with my priorities and my values? And if not, what can I change? And if it's hard to change, how can I get the support to make the changes? So I don't think that cancer is a random occurrence. It comes into people's lives to serve a higher purpose. And when we can find out what that is, as I said in the beginning, that helps the healing process. And really, I think that what the course can help people do is to find that message and to shift from the fear to feeling more at peace with the diagnosis and ready to explore and get the guidance and really find the gift in the cancer and not only heal but improve your life in some way. And that's what I really, really wish for everyone.
Well, we can't ask for more than that. So that's great. That's wonderful. I'm very excited to be speaking with you, excited to be able to offer people this. And I can say from my nearly 40 years of experience with 25,000 cases or so, this is really where it's at, folks. So thank you, Jackie, for doing this work and for making it available to others.
Thank you for the interview and for helping me spread the word and get the course available so as many people as possible can start to benefit from it.
And it's very reasonably priced as well, especially with the discount. All right. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Beat Cancer Answer. If you learned just one thing today about how to prevent, cope with, or beat cancer, then we have succeeded in our mission. For more information or assistance, visit our website at BeatCancer.Org. Remember to sign up for our educational email series and get your free gift. Join in the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+, where you can meet others who think just like you. We appreciate all of your feedback and love your suggestions. Please also remember to rate us on iTunes. Your positive ratings help us to get discovered so we can save more lives. Thank you again for listening, and best wishes for good health from all of us at BeatCancer.Org.